Hello and welcome. Welcome to everyone who is coming in, who may be joining us, and also everybody that will be watching this on replay. I'm just going to find my camera because I'm not sure why my avatar is not showing up. I seem to be having a lot of issues today with my StreamYard. I do not know why. Yeah, I think it's just been one of them days. So hopefully my camera will be okay on this one. I literally started a live, and then I had to end it because I think I know what I did. And, at the end of the day, it's it's definitely been an experience. I know an awful lot about crime, but technical stuff, no, not so good. Yeah, absolute nightmare. Anyway, so welcome. You're with me, Hayley V, at the scene with Hayley V. And I just want to sort this camera out. So I thought Sunday, why not? Just kind of come on and have a chat. Because there's been a lot going on this week in regards to we've had the Murdaugh files, and sorry, not Murdaugh files, the Murdaugh trial. But over here, what we have had is we've had a bit of an awful case, to be honest, involving someone called Nicola Bulley, dog walker, from Lancashire. I think, if I'm right, so I've managed to do my avatar. Woohoo! Done something right today. And so I really wanted to start off by speaking about her. And I had someone on earlier who wasn't too far from the scene. And I really hope that he comes back in because now I'm all sorted. I just wanted to ask him, about the river. I did get off of him a few details. So let me just go back. So this happened not this Friday, God. So we're on the 10th day. She went missing on, I believe it was the 27th, if I'm right, on a Friday morning. So Nicola Bulley. I think she's about 40, if I'm right. Mum of two beautiful girls. Dropped her kids off at school on the Friday morning. She's got a dog called Willow. And it was quite a usual thing for her to do, which would be to drop the kids off and go take Willow for a walk. So she would drive to the school, drop the children off, drive to the local park, and she would take Willow for a nice walk. So it was something, she did quite often. She was, she knew the area well. She knew the park well. She was quite, she seemed to know quite a few people. That it's quite a busy place, actually, quite a lot of dog walkers. And she was, she was a known face. So, you know what it's like when you've got I've got a dog. I've got my Frenchie Dave, and actually not that I walk him, but you know what it's like. It's one of those areas where it's a really nice place to go walk your dogs. But there's a river, and it's quite busy. So on that Friday morning, she was taking Willow for that walk, and she was, from what we can gather, she was on a work call, and she'd come to a bench, and I'll be showing you a few photos later. We'll have a look, at where she actually was. Now this bench, there's like a very short kind of incline, and then there was the river right in front of her. Now, like I said, she was on this work call, and I don't know if they heard it. I'm assuming they've not. They didn't hear anything, because we've not really heard about this work call, but she was logged in to this work call, and all of a sudden she just disappears. So her phone was found on the bench, still logged in. The dog was there, Willow. Strangely, the harness and the lead had both been removed, and the dog appeared to be dry. So this week we've seen a lot, there's been a lot of searches. They've really concentrated on the river, and the police hypothesis is that there's a very short time of a window of maybe 10-20 minutes. Some are saying 10, some are saying 20, from when she was last heard, I guess, on that call. And so between that and then a person coming, another dog walker coming along and finding Willow by the river's edge near the bench, and obviously this person found the phone and the collar and the lead. So the police hypothesis has been that Nicola must have fallen in the river, lost her footing, I don't know, and she'd fallen in the river. So they've had searches there like all week. So today's day 10. They've had like drones, sonar, divers, helicopters. I mean, you name it, like the whole shebang. And there's just nothing at all. It's just very, very odd. Her dog Willow was a spaniel. Now I've got a Frenchie. I'm not an expert on spaniels, but I kind of felt like the first thing I was thinking was, well, the dog must have got in the water. The dog surely must have got in the water, got into trouble, and she's got in to get the dog, reached over, and she's fallen in. So that was kind of one of the theories, and she's been swept away. But then obviously we're hearing that the dog was dry. And if we are to be believed that there is that 10-minute, 20-minute window, then the dog would have been wet, surely, if she was trying to, get the dog out of the water. So then there's another theory that because the harness was taken off the dog, so not just the lead, but the actual harness itself, which I find really unusual, because I don't know why you would, as a dog walker, take the whole harness off your dog. So another theory was that perhaps the harness, but maybe the dog got caught on a branch, or the harness got caught, and she had undone that harness, and taken it off, and then kind of fell in the river, swept away. So the dog wouldn't necessarily be wet because it just got caught on the branches. So there's that. And both of those are very plausible, and could well have happened. But I kind of thought, you know what, like this dog is a spaniel, right? And I know that you can't say with all breeds, you know, all dogs are the same or all spaniels are the same. But I just thought it was really odd because I thought, well, you know, if Nicola had fallen in that water, I'm pretty sure that dog would have got in after her. I mean, she'd had this dog for years. They had a really close, you know, close kind of dog-owner relationship. And I would have imagined that if she'd fallen in, Willow would have gone in after her. And because the dog was dry, I just don't feel like that kind of happened. So we're 10 days on, and there's no sign of her whatsoever. Now, trigger warning here, because we just need it's awful to talk about, but it's something we do need to address. Now, if she had fallen in the river, then you know, and she's struggled, and for whatever reason she's tragically, you know, got into trouble and she's drowned. Bodies generally will stay under the water, they'll sink. And as the body decomposes and the purification occurs, the body will kind of rise. Now, because the river is pretty cold, you know, it's not it's not freezing over at the moment, but it's not warm. So the temperatures of the river, I think, would slow down the decomposition. So we would be thinking that could be surfacing. You know, we get to day 10, and I'm assuming that she would have researched that body would now be at a point where somebody would see that body. And so it's just a mystery. Now, there was a search and rescue guy who was talking about this morning. And he was like pretty adamant that, I mean, you know, and this is like this guy's got all the equipment. He's one of the top people in our country when it comes to finding bodies. And he was saying that he could have cleared that river in a day with the equipment that he's got. He could have cleared that river in one day and could have said categorically whether or not Nicola was in there. He has actually offered to help. He's offered his services, free of charge, offered all of his services, and as of yet they haven't took that up. So he was kind of speaking in the week about the river, and then today he was talking this morning, and I did like a short video which I haven't uploaded to YouTube yet, but I did put on TikTok, because it was quite interesting, you know. And he's saying, look, you know, 10 days later, even with the coldness of the river, he really believes that she should have resurfaced. There would have been a sighting. He doesn't feel that the river was strong enough to have carried her too far. So this is quite a long river, and it does eventually lead into the sea. But this is a river that's got lots of bends, very shallow in places, deep in others. The point where they're believing that she may have fallen in was actually quite shallow. And he's saying, in his opinion, he just can't see it. And I have to agree with him. Now, he's not saying that the police aren't doing a great job, but he's definitely, you know, he seems concerned that the police are focusing so much on this river and not on the surrounding areas. And again, we're going to have a look at the kind of area and where she is. And again, I would agree with him. I think it's very dangerous to, to kind of put it out there on this hypothesis that she's definitely in that river when there's really not that much evidence. So, yeah, it's a bit of a mystery, this one. And there's a few other things that I kind of noticed that I'm really not too sure about. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play for anyone that might not have seen much of what's been going on here, and obviously anyone coming in, and for anyone replaying, I just want to play the police conference. This was the main one that we had this week, and what their thoughts were, and then we'll talk about what the families felt about this conference after it had been broadcast. So I'm gonna just play that now because I think it's important just to get a bit of, just to show you, you can get an idea of the river layout, of her family, and what the police are kind of they're thinking on this. So let's go on to this one. Hopefully I'm going to be able to play this okay, which will be very handy. Right, so I'm going to go on here. So we'll just take a look at this interview, and I'm just going to let it play through, unless I feel there's something that important for where I need to stop it. Okay.
Good afternoon and thank you for coming. I'm Superintendent Sally Riley. I'm the Operations Manager for Lancaster, Morecambe and Wyre. It's been a week now since Nicola Bulley from Inskip in the local area went missing. Her family, particularly her partner, her children, her parents and her sister, are in real agony while she remains missing. And I want to pay particular tribute for their patience and dignity and strength at this time. In the last 7 days since Nicola went missing, a week ago today, the police have done a number of enquiries to try and find Nicola and to bring her home to her family. In particular, the search has focused on the riverbank and the River Wyre here in St Michael's. An unprecedented number of search resources have been searching the river and the bank. This includes drone, the helicopter, police divers, sonar equipment, pole cameras, underwater drone, and staff wading the shallower parts of the river. We've also had search dogs that are specially trained in the area from both the boat and the riverbank. And this has included the area where Nicola went missing, but also upstream of where she went missing and the 15 kilometres or so down to the sea. We've been assisted in this by the Coast Guard, by RNLI, by colleagues from other forces, and the Lancaster Area Search and Rescue, and I want to thank them for their assistance. Unfortunately, we have not still found Nicola, but our search does continue. As well as the river search, we've also undertaken a 1 kilometre physical search of the open ground in a radius from the point where she last went missing. This has included open ground, empty buildings and their gardens, to no avail so far. As well as search officers, we've had a number of uniformed staff in the area, officers and PCSOs receiving community intelligence and offering that visible presence to the local community to answer any questions and to allay any concerns. At the same time, a dedicated team of investigators who often assist missing people inquiries has been working on this tirelessly. They have undertaken extensive house-to-house inquiries. They've checked numerous CCTV, dash cam and ring doorbell footage. They've traced and now spoken to a number of key witnesses. They have spoken to people in the community who have information about Nicola's lifestyle, her daily walks and so on. All this has built up a really rich picture of data that's allowed us to have a very tight timeline, some details of which we've already released, about Nicola's last whereabouts and what she was doing last Friday morning. I'm just going to take you through some of those. So at 8:43 last Friday, Nicola was seen on the river path walking towards the Iron Bridge. A few minutes later at 8:47, she was seen in the lower field with her dog Willow and her mobile phone, which was on view. At 8:53, she sent an email to her boss on her phone, and at 9:01, she joined a Teams work call. All of this was normal behaviour for Nicola. This was not out of the ordinary, and nothing different or unusual happened during those calls and emails. At 9:10, she was seen in the upper field. The dog was off the lead. Again, this was normal. The dog was not in its harness and the lead wasn't on the dog, which was all part of Nicola's daily routine. At 9:20, through inquiries we've made, we believe that her phone was on the bench. At 9:30, the Teams meeting ended, but Nicola's phone remained dialed in. At 9:33, a witness found Nicola's dog Willow running between the gate to the field and the bench where the phone was located. Also found by that witness was the dog harness, which was on the grass between the bench and the river's edge. Therefore, the time that we are particularly interested in is between 9:10, the last confirmed sighting, and at 9:20, when Nicola's phone was found on the bench. Sorry, not found on the bench, when Nicola's phone was on the bench, believed to be on the bench, found at around 9:33. The witness made numerous inquiries to try and find the owner of the phone, not knowing whose phone it was, and indeed whose dog it was. That led the witness to meet up with other people who did recognise the dog as Nicola's, and the school to which Nicola's children go was alerted at 10:50, as was her family. This means that we've only a 10-minute window in which we cannot account for Nicola's movements. The inquiry team has undertaken a number, as I said, of dashcam, CCTV and ring doorbell footages. This has allowed us to eliminate any trace so far of Nicola having left the riverside, which is really important. So we believe that Nicola was in the riverside area and remained in the riverside area. We remain open to any inquiries that might lead us to question that, but at this time, we understand that she was by the river. Our main working hypothesis, therefore, is that Nicola has sadly fallen into the river, that there is no third party or criminal involvement, and that this is not suspicious, but a tragic case of a missing person. This is particularly important because speculation otherwise can be really distressing for the family and for Nicola's children. In terms of what we would like from the public, I would like to thank them, particularly Nicola's friends, neighbours and the community of St Michael's and the wider area, who've come out in force to help in the search for Nicola. I do have an update on the clothing that Nicola was last seen wearing, and this is something that the public who live in the area or who walk their dogs on the river path near to St Michael's or downstream of St Michael's towards Morecambe Bay can look out for. They are an ankle-length black quilted gilet jacket, a black Engelbert Strauss waist-length coat, which was worn underneath the gilet, tight-fitting black jeans, long green walking socks tucked into her jeans, ankle-length green next wellies, and a necklace and a pale blue Fitbit. It's really important that the public pay heed to those very specific clothing descriptions, please, because factual sightings of those items would be very useful to us. We also appeal for any remaining dashcam footage that may not yet have been submitted to the police in this inquiry, particularly if people have that relating to the Garstang Lane area of St Michael's. Please can the public continue to report only factual information that they have and not speculation as to what may have happened to Nicola, because this is a distraction to the police inquiry and not helpful for the family. I would also appeal to the public to keep themselves safe in this inquiry. People going out at night in the darkness could fall into the river and face other hazards. Likewise, if they go out in boats on the river, please only do so if you've got experience in doing that. We don't want people to be in danger. Lastly, I'd like to underline the support given to the family. It is, as I've said, an agonising time for them. Nicola has 2 little girls, a partner, sister and parents, as well as many, many friends and neighbours and well-wishers in the local community. We are supporting her family with specially trained officers and staff. And I'd like to thank the wider community for all the support that they've given during this very difficult inquiry. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions if there are any.
Can I ask, is there any data from the Fitbit, the newer Fitbits you can track the location using the phone?
Yeah, all the telephony and digital inquiries are being handled by the inquiry team, so all of that data will be looked at. Thank you. Hi.
I know earlier in the week you were searching the river for signs that
Yeah.
she'd fallen in. Did you find anything? Is there anything to support that hypothesis?
No, not so far, unfortunately not. That's why I particularly appeal around any clothing that may be matching the description I've given and that could be found, but nothing has been found in the river. I should say that the river is tidal below the weir, so if you see repeated searches of particular areas of the river, it's not necessarily because we found something of note, it's because the river movement is complex and we are taking advice from academic specialists in water movement around currents and so on.
Just one other thing, has she made any contributions on the Teams call? Has she spoken or was it just on the?
Not that I understand, no. And again, this was normal. It was a large Teams call. She was one of many people on the call and I wouldn't have expected to necessarily to participate actively. Thank you. Through telephony inquiries that we've done relative to the phone itself rather than through a witness. No. Hi.
Hey Tilly, it's so good to see you. I know it's a bit quiet at the moment. Yeah, so it was so annoying because I actually met I wanted to come on earlier, and I did come on earlier at 4, and I just had some issues with StreamYard, so I had to come out of the broadcast and then come back in. But when I was on that first, when I was on the first broadcast, someone came in who said he was about 20 minutes away from that area. And I wanted to ask him so much more, but I was having issues with the StreamYard. And he said that there could be undercurrents in that river. And he did say also that it was almost kind of clay-like on the riverbed. So I'm guessing a bit kind of maybe quicksandy. So, and then literally I had to come out. I had to come out of the stream. So, which was a real shame. I'm hoping he might pop back in so I can ask him a bit more. Yeah, so I'm not near Lancaster, or Lancashire, and I'm not, obviously I don't know much about that area, but I have looked at a lot of the footage and, of this river. So, yeah, I'm going to be showing I've got some pictures and stuff, so I'll be showing like, some photos and some stuff that I kind of think's relevant. But yeah, so like I say, it's good to see. I'm just going to play the rest of this, and then we shall have a little bit more of a deep dive, which I think is what we need.
Today, obviously, lots of friends and family have been out in France. Has any new information from any of that holding up pictures?
Not that I'm aware of today. Clearly, the public are very well intentioned and have given us a lot of information, quite rightly. They don't know whether it is of particular use or not, and obviously we can judge that, can't we? But so far, it's taken a lot of effort and diligence to go through all the information that's been provided, and we'll continue to do that right through the weekend and into next week. Hello.
Earlier today, one of Nicola's friends said that she was holding a new torch of hope because of the amount of calls that police have had. Can you tell us a bit about how many calls or pieces of information you have from members of the public?
And
any idea about the number?
I can't give you a number, but I know there have been a lot of calls today. Clearly, 7 days on is a really good time for people to think back, particularly if they have perhaps a particular work pattern where maybe they might be working on a Friday or not working on a Friday. It's again Friday today, and that will probably take them back to what they were doing last Friday. Were they driving through St Michael's at around 9:15? Were they dropping children off? Were they going off to work? What were they doing last Friday that they might always do? That would be helpful for us to know if it's relevant to the inquiry.
Can you just explain to me why you're so sure she didn't leave the riverside? Are there no kind of cross-country routes, no other ways out at all that could have been taken?
Yes, several of the exits from the riverside area are either locked or they're covered by CCTV. So we've been able to look at that CCTV, negate Nicola leaving the local area. The areas that are not covered by CCTV is where we've been particularly interested in dashcam footage. So that's Garstang Lane leading to the A586. If we can definitively cover off that 10-minute window in particular and the few minutes either side, then we will know definitively that she has not left the area because of the lack of footage or footage showing that she didn't pass by. But we are as sure as we can be that Nicola did not leave the area.
There's nowhere that there were cars parked, so she could have been in a car, for example,
No. No, no. All the exits to the area that she was, as I say, are either locked, covered by CCTV, or Garstang Lane, we're appealing for dashcam footage to cover that gap.
You've seen the river, it doesn't look like kind of an easily falling by accident, does it?
At the point where the bench is located, there is quite a steep drop to the, albeit not high, it is steep. And therefore, whilst I don't want to speculate as to what may have happened, it is our working hypothesis that she's entered the water accidentally, and that's why there is no further physical evidence on the field. She can swim, yes.
How deep is it?
It's different depths actually, which is why we've had some staff wading the river and some staff underwater search. But as I say, the sheer number, actually an unprecedented amount of technical equipment with the sonars, the pole cameras, the dogs, the surface searches, the underwater search, it is really so very thorough that we have discounted finding anything in that immediate area underwater.
Are there any other factors with Nicola that may have contributed to the situation? So was she ill, or was she taking any medication, or underlying conditions?
We're not considering, we've clearly considered the whole picture, but that is not relevant at this time, no, not at all.
So tell me the window between 9:10 when she was last seen and 9:20 when the phone's not moving around.
Correct. So Nicola was last seen by a witness at 9:10 and the phone was back on the bench at 9:20 or thereabouts, yes.
Was your working hypothesis to possibly family how?
Yeah. All of the timeline details, what the police have been doing every day, what we're intending to do over the next few days is all relayed to the family so that they're kept updated and are aware. Yeah.
Why would you imagine that she didn't have her phone in her hand or on her pocket, when she fell?
The dog was off the lead. This was normal for the dog to run about, and Nicola was on a Teams call, which again, it would be normal for her not necessarily to participate in actively and just to have the phone to listen in effectively.
But you normally have it either in your own
You do, but anything could have happened with the dog whereby Nicola may have gone, and I don't wish to speculate in that we don't know, but it is possible as the dog was loose and off the lead that there may have been an issue with the dog that led her to go near to the water's edge. She puts the phone down to go and deal with the dog momentarily, and Nicola may have fallen in. So that is a possibility.
The dog was dry.
The dog was dry, yes. Hello.
Sorry, that was my sort of question. The dog was off his hands.
Yes.
It was normal.
Yes.
Was there any chance the dog was itself coming in the river, or near the river and she's falling? Is that what you're working theories?
We don't believe the dog was in the river because the dog, we believe, was dry, and the witnesses who are part of the timeline that I've laid out have not described the dog, for example, swimming in the river or jumping into the river. So we assume the dog didn't get into the river, but we don't know why Nicola may have entered the water if she did.
And how long will the sort of missing person inquiry be? The scale it is in terms of search operations?
Well, clearly, a 15-kilometre stretch of river is long, and therefore, you know, our partners continue to assist us in that. So there are lots of things that we'll be doing over the weekend in terms of water, surface and riverbank searching, and our partners will be working with us into next week, but it's too early to say at this stage how long it will be. I'm going to take one more question, if I may, from someone who hasn't yet asked a question. Thank you. This is a large rural area with a long stretch of river. All I can say is that we are doing absolutely everything possible. We are working tirelessly, long hours, with a very large team of both plainclothes and specialist uniformed officers to try and do everything we can to bring Nicola home to her family. But it is a very complex and challenging situation, and we hope for a good outcome.
The possibilities, as the way you said it, seem quite limited, small.
Well, as each day goes on, we become very much more concerned for Nicola's safety, but we have the best minds and the best trained officers available to us, as well as a number of very specialist partners. So every potential possible way of improving our chances of finding Nicola are being exploited. Thank you. Okay.
Well, Jackie, there are still many unanswered questions about exactly what happened to Nicola Bulley last week. And when police were talking today, all they were really able to
Right. So that was the main police conference that we had this week. So this is when they really came out and said, look, this is our hypothesis. This is what we believe. We believe that for whatever reason that Nicola, the dog did something, the dog possibly did something that meant that, Nicola had placed her phone on the bench and for whatever reason, trying to sort the dog out, she'd fallen in. And this was their hypothesis. Now the family came out and they were not happy. The family and friends, they just were not happy at all that the police were giving this hypothesis. And I really understand that as well. Because in a way, what they were kind of saying was that they weren't really looking. That you've got this poor family. You've got this poor family who are out there like searching, and and her friends, and they're not giving up hope. And all of a sudden, the police come out and say, "Well, this is our hypothesis." And so yeah, the family were upset by that because as I said, they just don't seem to think that's that's what happened at all. In fact, they seem very adamant that that is not the case. So I'm just going to look, because it's quite interesting actually. I'm going to see if I can find the interview with one of Nicola's friends. And this friend is amazing that she's got, because I mean, she's so she's got so much fight in her. And she just wasn't having it at all. She was like, I don't want people to stop searching. And yeah, and I've just found, so I'm just gonna get that ready to play next. So yeah, so the police come out and say this is our hypothesis, and in a way, what they're saying is to everyone, well, look, there's no point, I know they didn't say it like that, but they're insinuating that, well, this is our hypothesis. She's fallen in the river, so therefore, there's no real need for search parties, or we're not looking at anything else. We're just looking at, all of our focuses are going to be on this river. And like I said, that the family and friends, that was hard for them to hear, because I guess you've got the issue that, well, if she did fall in the river, now that we're on, this many days later, I think it's day 10 today, then that means that we're not going to find her alive, and they don't want to give up hope, but they also seem to be insinuating that there's kind of more to that as well. There's more going on here, and I've had a look. I've listened to quite a few of the different interviews, and I don't think that they should be giving up either. I really don't. So we had that press conference, and let me find it. And then, as I said, this is what then happened as a result of that conference, and it's quite telling. So I'll just oh, on. Right, it would help if I share the screen. So let me just do that now. Me and my StreamYard, we're not getting on today. Okay, share. There we are. Okay, so let's play this. It's this one here, yeah.
I'm joined by a good friend of Nicola's, Emma White. Good to see you again, Emma. We keep calling her Nicola. You knew her as Nikki, of course.
Yeah. I just want to point out, this woman has been so strong and so forthright. She's been, she's been out there every day. Everyone needs a friend like this. So, yeah, good on her.
And your thoughts, I'm interested in your thoughts after that update from police yesterday. When you heard what the police had to say, what went through your mind?
Let's just take you back to yesterday. So yesterday was a 7-day milestone. It was a roller coaster in itself. You wake up, still no news. Okay, we'd already planned the 7 days, a big media publicity. We were out there with the banners.
Hey. Oh, I'm back. I know. So I sorted out my issues, and I was just saying to Tilly earlier that I was like, oh my God, I was speaking to somebody who kind of knew the area, and I wanted to ask him questions. But I had issues with my StreamYard. Anyway, yeah, I'm back. So now that I'm back, I've just played the police conference. I don't like that grizzly crime woman. Do you mean the policewoman? Yeah. So I played that conference, and I was just saying, that was the conference, when they were saying about their hypothesis, and that they were just focusing on the river and on the river only. And then obviously her friends and family came out. Oh, the other person streaming now. Oh, I don't know who that is. So what was I saying? Yeah, so that conference, we had that conference, didn't we? And they were going on that hypothesis, and then the family and friends, they came out, and they seemed to be like so angry. Because, and I get it as well, because in a way, what the police were saying was, that in a way they're saying, well, this is our hypothesis. She's in the river, so really we don't need to be looking anywhere else. And do you know what? If that was my daughter, rightly so, well, she's not even from the UK, biased for making it a crime. Yeah, I'm not sure who you might be talking about, but I might have an idea. So yeah, so I can see why the family and friends would be, like I said, if it was my daughter, I wouldn't want, like, is that enough evidence? Because they found the phone, is that enough evidence? So let me just ask you, so because we were talking about the river when we was on earlier, and we had the search and rescue expert today who said that he didn't feel that the river was fast enough to carry her too far. He felt that there were too many bends in the river. She probably wouldn't have made it too far downstream because it wasn't that fast moving. He seemed to think it was quite clear. You see, my first theory was, well, it's obvious, isn't it? I was thinking, well, it's obvious. The dog got into trouble. She's gone in to try and help the dog, and she's fallen in. but they're saying, well, the dog wasn't wet. And because there was only what it was. Some people are saying 10-minute window, some are saying 20, but I think it's probably more like 10. But the thing that got me was about the harness, because then I kind of thought, well, why would the harness be why would you take the harness off your dog? Now, I posted a TikTok video and someone said, and came in and said that the family had said that Nicola quite often would take that harness off of Willow when she was walking her at the gate as she came in the park, and that she would put it back on afterwards. I'm not sure where that information came from, but every photo that I've looked at, and I've looked at her media and her Facebook, and all of the photos that I can see of Willow when she's being walked, that dog has her harness on. Yeah. Absolutely. Every picture that dog has the harness on. So, and so you're saying shows on, yeah. And so did they say that Willow was wet then? Because they were saying that she was dry. So I'm kind of confused. Yeah. There's like 60 images on Strava. What is Strava? I don't even know what that is. So what do you think? Because from the photo, if we go by the pictures, she didn't take the harness off, and I thought it's unusual to take the harness off anyway. But then my other thought was, if she had got in the river, especially, I mean, I know you can't say the same for all dogs, but being a spaniel, don't you think that it's more probable that Willow would have jumped in after her? That dog would have jumped in. And so the fact that she was dry would tell me that, well, that tells me that maybe Nicola didn't fall in the river, because Willow would have been wet. So I'm kind of confused, because I think you're saying, it's possible one end of the river is deeper. I'm beginning to think the river measurements are for the other side of St. Michael's. Yeah, I mean, they have said, haven't they? The river, it kind of changes, and some parts are shallow and some parts are deep. And we've seen that when we've seen the divers. You know, some of them seem to be like waist high, in the river, and in other places, yeah, it is a lot deeper. So it's a real mystery, isn't it? This one. It is a real mystery. Right, so I'm just going to play the rest of this video, because I just think it's interesting that this friend, who I think is amazing, by the way, seems to be so kind of forthright about the fact that she doesn't, I mean, she could be in denial, bless her, and she doesn't want people to stop looking, does she? But it must be so hard. Also, person at GB News is doing a check tomorrow. Oh, do you mean like a river check? What, a check on the are they going to be checking the river? If so, I hope it's that guy, that search and rescue guy that did the interview today, because he looks like he knows what he's talking about. So, yeah, brilliant. That's good. So I'm just going to play the rest of this.
So then to hear just in the afternoon that had driven awareness, influx of calls, that hope was ignited. I couldn't tell you the feeling like something's got to come of all this information. We then get the news bulletin and it comes up with this hypothesis, then that sinking feeling again. And I just wanted to quote, so what we're saying is, what struck a chord, she said the search continues to no avail, and then obviously a hypothesis is unlimited information. And when we're talking about a life, we can't base it on a hypothesis. Surely we need this factual evidence. And like you've just both said, that's what the family and us are all holding on to, that we're actually no further on than sadly last Friday. We still have no evidence. And that's why we're out again in force.
Yeah, I can sense frustration in your voice. Do you feel frustrated?
It's not frustrated, but you don't base life on a hypothesis, do you? You absolutely can have hypotheses, but then you need something to back that hypothesis up to become factual.
Do you think it might almost have been better not to have mentioned that, to have just said we don't have any new information, but we are still appealing for help. We are still appealing for, like they did, dash cam footage and the like, but actually not necessarily saying that that is now their theory.
100%, and I think we just said we talked to the family. They obviously discussed that with the family. We didn't believe it was going to go into a live news bulletin when it is this hypothesis. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're great friends with Nikki and Paul. What's Paul saying this morning? Did you have a chance to speak to him after the conference yesterday?
Yeah, as soon as we heard, we said, "What's the message?" And he was just like, "Keep going, keep going."
I totally agree with
until
your comment.
we find something factual.
And you were here chatting to me yesterday, and you were so buoyed up and so hopeful because the police had more calls, hadn't they? They had more information through. Did you get any sense of what that information might have been?
No, all I know, it was a significant influx in calls that they had to bring another 101 team in to answer the calls. So when you hear that news coming from the police, you think, oh my, there has to be a glimmer of, there has to be something coming from that today, just to give a line of inquiry to go on. So when the news bulletin came, I thought, oh, they might have found something that we don't know. And we thank everybody that did come forward. What I would say is we need to keep it to factual information. Like they could have received 100 calls on, I don't know, that's not relevant to the case.
Yeah, it needs to be a genuine factual information. No, that's a good point. There's been a lot of talk about a tennis ball and that Willow loved chasing a tennis ball, and perhaps the ball rolled down this very steep bank where we're standing, ended up in the water, and Emma understandably tried to retrieve the ball. Simple as that, as you would do on a dog walk. What do you think about that theory?
Willow used to love a tennis ball very much, but it used to disturb the walk, so they haven't had a tennis ball since way into last year. Obviously a tennis ball, she loved the tennis ball, so she should always be by you, pestering you for the ball. But it wasn't a nice walk when the dog's pestering, so the ball was definitely no ball. Okay, well that's really interesting. As a dog owner, I know how annoying it can be having dogs obsessing over balls. So you don't think there would have been a ball? No. Okay, and finally, what is your message today to people watching this who will share your anguish? They'll share the family's anguish and their desperation that perhaps things are narrowing down now in terms of getting Nikki back. What's your message? Again, yesterday they said they haven't explored all the avenues. We've got footage missing from Garstang Road, which is just outside of the river where you come into the gate for the walk. So we're appealing again for anybody that has the dash cam footage, any information on that. Then when we've explored that avenue, then hopefully the police can piece a bit more of the picture together. I know people will be coming out in the force today. We've had message after message and we thank you. We've got routes set up for people to do today. We've actually overnight I think you've already shared it, we've got this 10-foot illuminated box that actually drove from Blackpool to Preston last night. It's going to be driving around. It's going to be prominently in St Michael's today, just to raise that awareness. And if someone can just shed a little bit of light to give us some evidence, that's all we're asking. And it's just a simple phone call. A simple phone call, yeah. And nothing's too small. But then again, don't clog the lines with trivia. No. And for you, you're not ruling anything out. Not ruling anything out, no. And we have to. I've always said, my children, Nikki's children, we've got to carry that hope. But until we find something, we can't go and tell them we have a hypothesis. It's going to be tough for the little girls this weekend, isn't it? Very, very much so. And we've all been about the routine. So they're going to the clubs and doing what we normally do on a Saturday. And just keeping them occupied. I'm joined by a good...
Okay, so let me stop it there. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, if they've got this wrong, then God help them, because they're going to be vilified by everybody, that's for sure. So yeah, I hope for their sake that they've got this right. I really do. So the problem, so FMG footballer gamer, problem is there is also small rivers which come off. Yeah, I noticed that come off the Wye around Thornton when it gets large. So what if it went down one of them? Yeah, do you know what? I probably need to have a good look at that, Google. I was talking to my husband yesterday and he said about that. So what I'm confused about, because they seem to be saying, although they're rather contradicting themselves, because they're saying, well, she would have had to, they're kind of almost insinuating there's only really one way she could have gone in and out. But there seems to be a hell of a lot of land around where she was. And so, I mean, how do they know that she couldn't have been taken? Like, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of grounds there. How can they be so sure that she would have been seen leaving by that gate that she came in at? It must be, yeah. There's a lot of, so you're saying it's really flat and there's a lot of marshland. Like, surely it's possible that she could have been taken through the field. And I really need to have a really good look at the Google map, because they, like I said, in a way, so they're kind of saying in one way, well, look, we would have seen her if she left that park, that she would have been seen. So therefore, she must have gone in the river. But on the other hand, they're asking people who have got dash cams for one of the roads that are nearby. See, I don't see her being taken. I'm with you on that. I don't know why. I don't know why I feel that, but I don't think so either. So that takes me into some other things that I was looking at. One of which is her partner. Where's that video? I don't know. Did you see? Oh, that's it, isn't it? Yeah. They would find CCTV on Garstang Road towards the M6. So that's, or the A6 goes from London to Scotland. Yeah. And then who's to say that someone leaving that park didn't have her in the boot if she was taken? Right, so what I found really strange, was the partner, was Paul's interview. Now, I noticed a CCTV of her. Did you know, have you seen the CCTV of her going in? Because I'd love you to message that to me if you've got it. That's, will no doubt be her car from school TV, I think, yeah. Right, so where is... I just wanted to find that interview with Paul. Okay. Just
talk to me. I'm talking to you.
Right, I just want to watch this quickly. Right, so for anyone who's just coming in, anyone on replay, I'm now going to play just the interview that her partner did, which I don't know was it about 5 days in, I think, wasn't it? I just want to go through your comments. So yeah, so it's a through road from Blackpool to the M6. A6 goes from London to Scotland. CCTV. That's will be no doubt be her car from the school, yeah. And the school CCTV. Right, okay. Right, so I'm definitely aware that he does, from what I'm hearing, you're correct in that it seems he wasn't home. And it's been confirmed by the CCTV and the Ring doorbell. However, let's just play devil's advocate. Just because he has his alibi doesn't necessarily mean that he's not involved somewhat in her disappearance. So in other words, could he, and this is only this is just how, like, I just like to look at everything. Like, for me, when there's someone missing, so Michael's on where it's in the is it really? It's in the Doomsday Book. So I like to cover all bases. So when I was quite intrigued about her partner doing this interview, and I understand that everyone acts differently. I'm in no doubt that he knew when he was doing that interview that everyone was going to be looking at every single facial movement that he made. And no one knows how you would react in that unless you've been through that kind of thing, you've been in that position. So I'm in no way trying to say that he's guilty or he's involved. However, I did find his interview to be quite odd. So I'm going to play it and I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Yeah. Trouble was, he's in a no-win situation, isn't he? Because if he didn't do that interview, I feel like, and I think that's the vibe you get, isn't it? I think that's why it wasn't a great interview, because I kind of feel like he was probably pressured into doing that. And maybe that's why it just came, it looked bad. Not that, no, saying it looked bad is the wrong way to say it. Yeah, I don't know why. Isn't it strange how some, how some like some crimes or cases that don't even make the local paper, and yet, like, certain crimes do, and then just completely like blow up. And I don't know why. Maybe is it because they're kind of like a young, nice looking kind of couple. Don't know. It's strange, isn't it? And so I just want to play this interview.
Such a difficult time. Just tell us your thoughts and emotions at the moment.
I don't really have anything to say other than what the family said yesterday.
my whole focus is the two girls, just staying as strong as I can for them. I'm scared that if I put any focus into anything else, it's going to take my, focus off that. So I've got to be very careful. Just hoping to goodness that anything comes out from the interview yesterday, no matter how tiny. To say a massive thank you to the community, friends, for everything that they're doing. It's absolutely incredible. I just can't believe that we're a week on, and as
I'm just gonna quickly tell you. But I uploaded this interview onto TikTok yesterday, and do you know what everyone was saying? Oh my God, look how he's dressed. Like he's dressed so that he like blends into the background. And I know this isn't a laughing matter, but I had to laugh because I kind of got a point. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't purposefully done. I'll come back to your comments.
yet, it seems like we're no further on. It just seems absolutely impossible. Just like a dream. I cannot get my head around any of it.
I mean, you're left sort of trying to make sense of the census, aren't you? It is just such a mystery.
Yeah, it is. There's just no every single scenario comes to a brick wall. Every single one of them, and then all we're doing is sitting there going round and round and round, going through every scenario, and then go back to the first scenario again and do the whole thing again, and then it's just all day long. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing.
How are you coping? It must be so difficult. Like you say, your focus is on the girls, and it has to be. But
yeah,
it must be so difficult.
I don't know how I'm coping. I don't even want to actually think about that. Just focus. Just like I say, it's just about the girls. That's it. I'm there for them. I don't want to really elaborate on that. I don't want to take my eye off that.
It must be heartwarming to see the public response. Hundreds of people trying to help.
It's amazing. It is. Right now, it's the only thing that we can take is, that level of support is out of this world. It gives us a great amount of comfort knowing that that's going on. We don't have anything else, do we?
Well, there's hope.
We're never ever going to lose the hope. Of course we're not. But right now, it is as though.
So just a few people said about possible duper's delight when he was speaking then, and again, could be, but it could be nerves. It could be nerves.
He has vanished into thin air, just insane.
Okay, right, let's stop that. Right, so when I watched that video, do you know what really stuck out to me? Was that he didn't mention Nicola by name, not once. He never said her name. He spoke about the girls, but he didn't speak about her relationship with the girls, really. He didn't kind of he was kind of saying, yeah, my priority is the girls. He wasn't kind of putting a lot of emphasis on the fact that that she's missing. He didn't actually appeal. He wasn't saying, if anyone's seen Nicola, please come forward. I want her home. I miss her. I love her. Like, we didn't hear any of that. And so I thought that was odd. And then also what I found was really odd was that he never mentioned the dog. Like, she went missing while she was walking the dog, and yet he never mentions the dog. He doesn't say, "Oh, it's really unusual." Like it's really unlike Willow to, for instance, jump in the water, or Willow didn't like the water. I think that's really I kind of feel that scenario will be highly unlikely. I can't see that Willow would have gone near the river's edge, or like he just didn't mention anything to do with the dog or how the dog was reacting, whether Willow was wet. He didn't talk about the harness and the lead. He didn't mention whether he thought it was strange that the harness was removed. So there were a few things that for me were kind of red flags, because he seemed to kind of be quite distant. But again, that's that is my opinion and my opinion only. Because, and it's not necessarily a sign of guilt, because everyone reacts differently, as we know. And like you said, you're saying, as being autistic, that you would be nervous, and yeah, there's lots of reasons why it could have been nervous. And so yeah, I mean, I think we have to be careful how much emphasis we do put on that. But I did just find that a bit odd. So I don't know what you think about that. And anyone who hey, Curious Rose. So good to see you. We're just touching in on the missing dog walker, Nicola Bulley, who's been missing for I think 10 days now. I know I missed you. It's these timings, isn't it? I fell asleep on that first live when you was doing that live. So yeah, so I missed you, and I've not had a chance yet to catch up on it, because I've been doing like a lot of stuff with this Nicola Bulley case. But I will do. Yeah, I will definitely catch up, and it's so good to see you. So thank you. So we're just talking about, I've just played the interview of this missing woman's husband, and I was just saying, like, I mean, like, so you're saying you can't get much out of a 2-minute interview, in my opinion. I mean, I would differ. I would kind of disagree on that, because I think you can get a lot out of a 2-minute interview, and I have got lots out of really short interviews. And like I said, I don't want to. It is only my opinion. It's just, and there were just little red flags there. There was just stuff there that I just found was odd. Yeah, I just find it odd. He looked very uncomfortable. There could have been so many reasons for that, but to not mention her name, and not mention the dog, the dog, that the whole reason for why she was there, that just seems so strange to me. So what I want to do, I'm just going to have a look at some of these photos. So let me just share screen on this, because there was like let's take that one off. Let's stop that screen. Okay, let me just share. Curious Rose, honestly, I came on at 4, and my StreamYard was playing up, so I literally had to come out, stop the stream, and come back in. and it was so annoying. It's my StreamYard is not liking me today. Okay, so let me just share this because there's a few things I wanted to kind of look at. Yeah, okay. I will come back to comments in a minute, but I just want to kind of focus on some of the things that I kind of think might be relevant. Okay, so just so you know, I can't see chat, but I will come back to it. So this is her dog Willow, and as I said, I put on quite a few videos yesterday on TikTok, and I mentioned this fact. I mentioned that I felt it was really strange that the harness had been removed from Willow, and the only scenario that I felt would be the reason that it would have been taken off, as if Willow had got caught if her harness had got caught in some branches, and maybe then she removed that harness, and then maybe she fell in the river, and then someone said, no, that harness, Nick, she takes that off. At the minute she walks through that gate, she takes Willow's harness off, and she doesn't put it back on until she's about to leave. And I just thought, that makes no sense. Like, why would you, most dog walkers I know, and I've got a dog, you leave the harness on because, what if another dog suddenly comes from around the corner, or like you've got something to grab onto. So I just found that really strange, and because it is a real busy place and there are a lot of dog walkers. So then I started looking through some of her photos on her media, on her Facebook, and every photo that I found, her dog had this harness on. So that makes me, yeah, see, exactly. I mean, I can see her taking the dog off the lead. With my Frenchie, we keep him on the lead, but you wouldn't take that harness off. Why? So that's a bit of a mystery, isn't it? So that leads them back to the hypothesis of that there was a reason that the dog got into some kind of difficulty. Did that harness get caught on some kind of branch or something, and she took that harness off and then fell in? Because I think the harness and the lead, if I'm right, I think they were found on the floor by that bench. So why would her phone be on the bench but not the harness and the lead? Why wouldn't they be on the bench if she'd taken them off? So I definitely found that a bit odd. I just want to have a look at... Right, so I was looking at the social media stuff yesterday, and I found there was a lot on hers. I think the family, quite rightly so, I think they've taken off some parts, some videos and what have you, and I can see why, because a lot of people are going to be doing what I did, which was to which was to have a look through the social media posts, and so she had quite a lot on hers. So I then went into his, and he's wiped his. Now, like, look, no info, no work info. It just like there's nothing. Everything is. If there were any posts from recently, he's taken them off. So sorry, I'm just gonna a bit of a dry mouth. But I thought it was really odd that he has no basic info. Again, if we're going to play devil's advocate, he may well have been advised to do that by other people, just as a way of kind of protecting himself. So there could be reasons why he did that. Now I do, from what I've heard, and his work seems to be a bit, I don't know, maybe a bit shady. I think he's had 2 companies that have gone bankrupt or went into liquidation. And apparently he's got a company now. I know she was a mortgage broker. I'm not sure what his companies are. But I was hearing yesterday that one of the companies he's got is due to be dissolved this month. So, you know, it could be something, might not be anything, could be relevant, might not be relevant. It could be false, that might not be true. You know, unless I see actual evidence of that, then I'm not going to take that as a fact. So that was just, obviously, so that's what I kind of found when I looked at his yesterday. I see again here, you know, look, that harness, it's always on. Always on. And for anyone that's, you know, joining us now or coming in, watching on replay, like, leave me a comment, because I don't know much about spaniels, but I'm pretty sure that they're pretty clever dogs. And if Nicola had got into difficulty in that river, I'm pretty sure that her dog would have got in after her. Unless this dog had a fear of water, which is possible. But generally most dogs, I think, would have gone in after her. So, yeah, the lead and the harness were apparently found by a tree. By the tree between the bench and the river. So they were on the floor. They weren't on the bench with her phone. Which again is strange, isn't it? It's a bit odd. So this is so this is the bench. So this is the bench where her phone was found. And if you look at my slow cursor, so they seem to be saying that the lead and the harness was somewhere in between that kind of bench and the tree. You know, why would they be on the floor? Again, it just seems really odd. Let me just go through the comments. Let me just catch up. Okay. Where was we? Okay, yeah, so okay, so Paige Shiver's case never blew up like this, and that was far worse. She was missing for a long time. Tragic. What happened to her? I don't know. I've not heard of her. Was Paige, was she local to this area? And how long ago was that? I'm surprised I wouldn't have heard of her. Okay, so yeah, my lovely Curious Rose, who hopefully is lounging in bed. I noticed a fair few people going to the place with ghost boxes, yeah, believing she's already passed. Okay, so yesterday, TikTok, the amount of people who are saying they've spoken to mediums. The mediums are saying that she's in the water. She's in some reeds, and yeah, there was a lot of that yesterday. One live streamed it, really. Wonder what the outcome of that was. So I would not take a dog off the leads. Right, so like I don't, when we walk our Frenchie, we don't take him off the lead. If I was somewhere that I kind of I felt was safe, maybe I might, but I would never take off Dave's harness, because like I said, if a dog suddenly came towards us, I want to be able to grab hold of my dog. And I'm pretty sure, because this park was such a busy place and there were a lot of dog walkers, that she wouldn't have taken that harness off either, for the exact same reason. I honestly, I don't see that. And like I said, I've looked at the photos, and all the photos that I see of her on those walks, that harness is on. So I think it's worth looking at the Weir River on maps. Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. I think I'm going to have some searches, try and, if I get time, I'm going to try and get some maps up so we can kind of have a good look. So yeah, we're definitely gonna, I think that's definitely worth looking at. You can make your personal Facebook account quite private if you're going through their effort. Yeah. Locked different pictures out from public. Yeah, so the lead, so like I said, the lead was on the floor, apparently between the bench. Someone said the tree, but the tree's like, would be high up, wouldn't it? And then I think someone else said between the bench and the river. But either way, the fact they were on the floor just seems odd to me. Oh, 2007, Blackpool. Yeah, do you know what? I'm not one for, I kind of have mixed feeling. Like, I'm not that kind of person, really, that puts a lot of stuff, you know, I like to see kind of facts and, you know, and like yesterday, you know, all these mediums coming out on TikTok. I mean, let's face it, they were all saying the same thing. She's in the river, she's further up, you know, she's under, look for some reeds, she's there. I mean, come on, it's not hard to come up with that, is it really? Do we really need a medium to come up with the fact that that's where we should be looking? Slightly obvious. Yeah. Some said she's buried. Well, I would imagine the ground would be an absolute nightmare at this time of year. So yeah, come on. I mean, how do you unalive someone, abduct someone, unalive them, and bury them in about 20 minutes? So I'm pretty sure we can rule that one out. Yeah, apparently it is a quick way to get views on YouTube, but it's not for me. I know. People talking about the Chinese spy balloon. It's tagged Nicola Bulley in the tags. Yeah, see, do you know what? Right, I'm not into that. That's not for me. I'm not interested in clickbait and putting, you know, stuff out there that I just don't want to be that kind of person. I'm pretty new that Which you can probably tell from everything that's happened with me today. But I'm definitely not interested in, doing shock value and all of that kind of thing, just to get people to come watch. I'm just gonna hopefully, I've got a nice little community. I've got people that, channels on here that and friends that I've made who I think a lot of, and I think my integrity is worth a lot more than just yeah, falsifying stuff and just to get views and likes. Yeah, they do go with what's trending. In fact, people talking that time. Yeah, oh yeah, I know. It's just I don't know. Oh, hey nutbag! I didn't see you come in. So at first I thought she's obviously fell in the river, but now I don't know why. But I believe there is definitely more to this case than just that. So do I, nutbag. I do. Like you, my first theory was, well, it's obvious, isn't it? The dog must have got into some difficulty in the river. She's jumped in to try and help the dog, got the dog out, and she's got into difficulty. And because she'd left her phone on the bench, that made sense. It was like, well, if you're going to get in the water, you're not going to want to get your phone wet. So yeah, of course you'd leave your phone on the bench. And then we hear that the lead and the harness were taken off. And yeah, hello, by the way. I'm so glad you've joined. And welcome. It's nice to have you here. So yeah, so like you. So then I heard about the lead and the harness being found on the floor. And that I just found that was odd. But then I thought, well, all right then, maybe that means that the harness got caught on a branch. So therefore, she undid the harness to release the dog, and then she fell in the river. But then we started to hear, well, no, the dog wasn't wet. So the dog wasn't in trouble. It couldn't have been that because the dog wasn't wet. But then I thought, well, what if, she could have stumbled and it wasn't to do with the dog? But then wouldn't the dog have jumped in after her? Because I mean, I've got a Frenchie. I don't know loads about spaniels, but they're pretty clever dogs, and I'm pretty sure if she'd fallen in, that Willow would have jumped in after her. Some dogs have a bit of a fear of water. She's in the river, but hasn't just fallen in. Okay, so that's interesting. So do you think then that she's been attacked and then was put in the river? That's interesting. Okay, so but that's only because of the missing man from Bolton, who was found 9 days later in the river. Same river. Okay. The spy balloon might have found her by now. Oh my God. What is all this with the spy balloon? I don't get it. What? And if it's a spy balloon, why is it so obvious to everyone? Surely a spy balloon should be like, you shouldn't be able to see it. Isn't that the whole point of it being like spy? I don't know. And yes, hey Ruby. Laugh out loud. So you think she jumped? Right. But how deep? The river where that bench is, that part of the river, is it deep enough? So are you saying maybe she may have been suicidal? The house needs searching. I absolutely believe the house needs to be searched. Also, Nutbag, did you see the interview with the husband? And if so, what did you think? I'm interested to know. Yeah, so the dog was dry though when found. I heard, and so that's what I heard. I heard the dog was dry. So part of me, but then I found that confusing because part of me thought, well, that's really good then, because if the dog was dry, she wasn't trying to help the dog and then got into trouble. So that's that ruled out. But then on the other hand, I thought, but hold on though, what if she stumbled in the river? The dog would have gone in after her, I'm sure of it. So then we're looking at an abduction, because someone just doesn't disappear out of thin air. So there can only be kind of, there's only really two scenarios here, isn't there? This is an abduction, or this is an accident. And so, yeah, it's one or the other. Right, I'm just messaging my hubby to make me a coffee. Can you bring me up a coffee, please? I need a nice strong coffee. Hopefully that will be delivered very quickly. Okay. Yeah, so the dog being dry, that kind of leads me into, I don't know, two kind of scenarios, I guess. So yeah, I do think, I'm pretty sure though that they would have searched that house. They've gone all over that house. The woman from Netherlands was trying to link this to Burnley. Oh. Why? I wonder why. Why Burnley? I see, I do. Not bad. I just hope for a positive outcome for her. I know she's got those two beautiful girls. I think they're like 10 and 8. I mean, my God, she's a mum. And part of me, like, I want to believe that this is an abduction. And the reason why is because if she's in the river, she's not going to be found alive, is she? It's been too long. You can't be in the river for 10 days and survive that. And so the only way that we can find her safe and well is if someone's taken her. And hopefully they have her captive somewhere. And so really that's got to be like the best kind of hypothesis, really, I would say. They rather lose a spy balloon than a satellite. Yeah, I don't get this whole spy balloon thing. I saw it yesterday and I was like, what is all that about? So but are the children the boyfriends, or are they from a previous relationship? Do you know what? I don't know. I'm not sure. I've got a feeling, looking at the girls, and I won't show their faces on here, but looking at the girls, I kind of feel like they probably are, because one of them in particular looks a lot like him. Oh, you think? I think you can jump by mistake. What do you mean by that? I think you can jump by mistake. What did you think of the husband-boyfriend interview? No, I haven't seen it. I only heard about this case yesterday. Right, Nutbag, we're going to watch it again. It's only a very short clip. I have played this already, but we are going to play it again. Right, let's take that one off. And then I'll go back to comments again. And okay. Because I think his interview was very interesting. So let's see what you think. So he didn't give this interview until, I don't know, was it about 4 days in? I think. Yeah, I think it was about, I don't know, maybe 5. Was it on the...
Hello and welcome to the programme. The partner of a woman who's gone missing while walking her dog in northwest England say he can't get his head around her disappearance. Nicola Bulley, who's 45, vanished a week ago in St Michael's on Wyre in Lancashire. Extensive police searches.
Okay. I just hold on, that's not the interview that I want. Where am I? Let me just get the interview that I want up. Let me just find it, because I really think I found it really interesting. Right, here we go. Which one is it? Yeah, I've got a feeling it's this one. No, let me just... Right. Just bear with me. We are going to get there. Right, share screen. Okay, so this is the interview that he did. So watch it and see what you think. It's really short. So.
All right.
Hey.
Is that video I sent you?
No, I'm live though at the moment. Okay, so I'm just going to play this.
I don't really have anything to say other than what the family said yesterday. My whole focus is my 2 girls, just staying as strong as I can for them. I'm scared that if I put any focus into anything else, it's going to take my, focus off that. So I've got to be very careful. Just hoping to goodness that anything comes out from the interview yesterday, no matter how tiny. Just say a massive thank you to the community, friends, for everything that they're doing. It's absolutely incredible. I just can't believe that we're a week on, and as yet, it seems like we're no further on. It just seems absolutely impossible. Just like a dream. Just cannot get my head around any of it.
I mean, you're left sort of trying to make sense of the census, aren't you? It is just such a mystery.
Yeah, it is. There's just every single scenario comes to a brick wall, every single one of them, and then all we're doing is sitting there going round and round and round, going through every scenario, and then go back to the first scenario again and do the whole thing again, and it's just all day long. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing.
How are you coping? It must be so difficult. Like you say, your focus is on the girls, and it has to be. But
Yeah.
it must be so difficult.
I don't know how I'm coping. I don't even want to actually think about that. Just focus. Just like I say, it's just about the girls. That's it. I'm there for them. I don't want to really elaborate on that. I don't want to take my eye off that.
It must be heartwarming to see the public response. Hundreds of people trying to help.
It's amazing. It is right now. It's the only thing that we can take is, that level of support is out of this world. It gives us a great amount of comfort knowing that that's going on. They don't have anything else, do we?
Well, there's hope.
We're never ever going to lose the hope. Of course we're not. But right now, it is as though she has vanished into thin air. Just insane.
So that was the interview that the hubby gave yesterday. Now, I found that really interesting. I'm going to go back and go through your comments in a minute, and I'll tell you why. And I know a couple of you have already heard this, so but I'll just quickly go over it. I found it was interesting because he didn't mention Nicola by name. He never said her name in that interview. Nicola was walking her dog, Willow, we know that, when she went missing, and yet he never mentions the dog. He doesn't say, Willow was acting all strange. He doesn't give any idea of what may have happened, as in, well, Willow loved the water, so it's possible that Willow went in the water and she went in. He doesn't talk about the lead or the harness. He talks about the girls, but he doesn't talk about Nicola as a mum. He talks about him and the girls, but he doesn't really kind of talk about her. He seemed a bit distant. There could be many reasons for that. It doesn't mean to say, and I'm not saying that he's acting, he must be guilty because of all of these things that I've seen. But something's off. For me, something is off. Now, again, when he did that interview, maybe he could well have been, and we touched on this earlier. He didn't do this interview. I think it was about 5 days, 6 days in when he did this interview, and he would have known that the police and everybody would have been looking at him and looking for any little sign, and that could have made him feel more kind of uneasy and awkward. And I get that. It might be that their marriage isn't as great as it just wasn't that great. Not the marriage, their relationship. And so again, maybe that's why he found it awkward. But I just thought it was really strange that he didn't mention a name, and he didn't mention Willow the dog. And and for me, that I found that interview to be a little odd. So let me just go back to these comments. Right. Okay. Where are we? Okay, so we've now played that one. So FMG, I'm going to just say FMG because I think it's easier. So you're saying she might have saw waves in the river and nothing was there. Could have been a bird which flew away and she thought it was a dog drowning and she jumps in. I mean, yeah, I mean, if anything's possible, isn't it? And if the dog ran out of sight, you would not know. Linking it to Burnley because she's a... Oh, okay, yeah. I know, Nutbag, if only dogs could speak. Now, this is something as well that came up yesterday when I was... because we were saying, wouldn't it be... They need to take that dog back. They should take the dog back to where that bench is, take her off the lead and see what she does. Because I'm pretty sure... I mean, I think it would be interesting to see how the dog would react. And, I mean, it's got to be worth a try. So, yeah, I thought a few people suggested it. They put that in comments on some of my videos. And I was like, do you know what? That's such a good idea to do that. And then today I noticed someone commented and said that they had done that, but I don't know. I don't know that for definite. Because that was just one person who said they thought they had taken the dog back to the area. But like I said, I've seen no evidence of that. And if they haven't, as of yet, I think they need to do that. Because you just don't know, do you? Being a spaniel as well, you know, they're clever dogs. All dogs are clever, really. Okay, right, there's only 2 ways out. You can't get a van past into the upper field. Okay, well, I've just been told, someone sent me a video, and apparently there's a gate that leads into a caravan park. I've not even seen this video yet. Because my hubby apparently sent it to me. So, I'm gonna see if I can find that at some point, because that's going to be interesting. Because if that's true, then you know what? They need to start, like, cordoning off this area. Did I read that comment? Where am I? Right, so... Yeah, so like I said, hubby's just said that he's got a video of... that there's a gate somewhere on one of those fields that leads into a caravan park. But I'm going to have to check that. But like I said, if that's true, then yeah, they need to get crime scene tape all around that, like, now. Okay, so yeah, that's definitely something we're going to have to look into, isn't it? Yeah, so Nutbag FMG, he says that I think he said he's about 20 minutes away. He's pretty near. Yeah, Fleetwood. I know, it is so sad, and she does. I mean, you know, absolute such a beautiful woman, and you know the photos of her on Facebook with her children. You know, she looks like a real mumsy mum. You know, always very smiley and very happy. Thank you for showing me his interview. He's either really nervous off the camera or nervous because he knows something. I know what you mean, but I don't get good vibes from it either, to be honest. See, no, I don't. I don't. And the consensus yesterday, and I uploaded quite a few videos, and the consensus yesterday was, you know, a lot of people felt the same about the interview. And like I said, it's so difficult to call it because could be so many reasons. As FMG said, you know, if you're autistic, you know, if you're really he would have been nervous. So there could have been reasons, but it wasn't a great interview. It wasn't a good interview. Now, we're being told, not by the police, I don't think, but by friends and family, that he's got an alibi, and his alibi is that he was at home and there's some kind of CCTV or, I don't know, ring bell, something like that. And so therefore couldn't be the husband. And that doesn't necessarily mean that the husband wasn't involved. You know, we've seen crimes before where, you know, they've got a mistress, and so just because you can't rule him out just because he's seen somewhere. But again, you know, I don't want to brandish this guy as being some, you know, kind of maniac. But I think you need to keep an open mind and you need to look at all bases. Is it trained to do that? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you mean the dog? I'm going to see if I can get the video up. I'm not sure if I might have to go look at it and then put it up and then come, and if I think it's relevant, I will put it on here. So if a van went into that field, there would be tire marks. Yeah, I think so too. So FMJ, even carrying over the river, someone would soon notice and she would scream. The attacker, exactly, very true. And again, you know, there were people in this park. It wasn't, I mean, it wasn't bustling, but it wasn't really, really quiet. There were other dog walkers, which is why there's such a short window, because another dog walker came upon the bench and the dog saw the phone on the bench, and they, you know, spotted the harness and the lead. So surely someone would have heard. Unless, of course, if she was sitting on the bench and then somebody came from behind the bench, you know, hand over mouth, maybe. But then again, you know, and again, why was the harness and the lead on the floor? Why was the harness off? So, I mean, it's just not right, is it? But what is it? I don't get good vibes from his interview. His eyes are all over the place. Yeah, he can't look straight at the interviewer. No, I know. I don't want to. But do you know what? I thought of Chris Watts. You know, that kind of, like, when he was speaking, he was saying a lot, but he was shaking his head at the same time. So his facial movements didn't seem to match to what he was saying. And you could say there was a bit of Jupiter's delight going on there. But again, that could be nerves. But something was off about that interview. And in my opinion, and it, you know, and I need to stress that, you know, the disclaimer here, you know, I'm just saying what I say, and something was off for me. Yeah, 10-minute gap. Yeah, so he was seen on the ring and the CCTV. So obviously we know that he wasn't there then. But having said that, it doesn't mean to say that he wasn't involved either. You know, is this like, is there another accomplice? You know, of course he would want to make sure he had an alibi. And probably this is a good time to bring in the fact that I have heard that he's had 2 companies that have gone into liquidation or bankruptcy, and that the company that he has now is due to foreclose this month. Again, I'm not like totally sure on that. But if that's true, was there some financial issues going on there? You know? Oh, I see what you mean. So yeah, the dog, was it trained? I don't think so. But having said that, I just think that taking the dog back to that area, I think you might get some vibes from the dog. You know, maybe the dog might, if you took the dog off the lead, where where that bench is, I think it just would be interesting to see how the dog acts and maybe where it goes. It could give some signs. So, if they haven't tried it, I really think they should. Because dogs are really clever. Okay, so still would have made a noise. Hand CCTV would have clocked them going out. Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you can say there would have been a noise. Or even put in a van. Not bad. Did one statement say the phone was found on the bench, and then another say it was found on the floor? Yeah, that's what I heard. So I heard first it was the bench, then I heard that no, it was found on the floor by the tree, and someone had picked it up and put it on the bench. So again, different accounts. So I don't know. If I had to go on one of them, I'd say, from what the police have said, I would say that probably it was found on the bench. Oh my God, wow, I got Chris Watts vibes too. And Ian Huntley. Do you know what? Quite a few people yesterday on my TikToks said Chris Watts and Huntley, which I found interesting. Because I didn't kind of, I just kind of got the Chris Watts kind of vibe, but both those names were brought up as what people were kind of reminded of, that kind of behaviour. I know, and that's the thing, isn't it? I don't want it to be anything to do with the partner, because that means then those children may have lost 2 parents, and that's like, to lose one parent is a nightmare. It's horrific, but to leave both, I mean, Christ, nutbag. I don't. Have vibes of Chris Watts. Yeah. I did think about Chris Watts. CCTV would have picked him or anyone up on Garstang Road. So Garstang Road, so obviously that's the road that leads into the entrance to the car park, I'm gathering, of the actual park itself. So if we've got a video from somebody that's saying that there's a gate somewhere on one of those fields that leads into a caravan park, then that's gonna be well, yeah, I don't know what to make of that, because that opens up everything, doesn't it? And if that's true, then the fact that the police have really driven this hypothesis of her being in that river, well, yeah, they're gonna have some questions they're gonna need to answer. So the only way to avoid CCTV is going across the river on the upper field, because it's flat. Someone would see him from Garstang Road. Okay. Maybe I'm probably being really too over analytical, FMG, and getting it completely wrong then. Laugh out loud. And you know what? I don't think that you are, because I think that when you know, you're kind of involved in true crime, and obviously I don't know much about who you follow, you know, or how much you live and breathe true crime, but I literally live and breathe it, you know, every single day. It's all I do. It's not all I do, but it takes up the majority of my time. And I do often have to like I have to check myself and say, you know, I have to check myself and remind myself that, you know, I shouldn't always jump in onto the very first, you know, thing. That I shouldn't always, you know, look at somebody and then be looking for something that's not there. I have to kind of reel myself back into reality, and I have to do that a lot. So I get where you're coming from. Hey, Digler. Hey, darling. I'm like, hi. It's so good to see you. How are you? Good, I hope. We're just going over the we're still on the Nicola Bulley case. I don't know, have you been following it, Digler? I'm not sure. Yeah, let me know if you've been following it, because I'd like to know what you've been thinking. Yeah, I hope you're well, and it's nice to see you here. So Garstang goes, yeah, towards the A6 on the east side of St Michael's. True, FMG. I suppose the BF would have been seen on CCTV. Maybe you're right. And yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting that he's not been seen. But just because he has an alibi, it doesn't mean to say that he doesn't have an accomplice. Because of course it would make sense that he would need to be seen. So, you know, we can't rule out, we still can't rule out somebody just because they're kind of said. What we can say is that he wasn't able to have played a part in what may have happened in the park, because we know that he was elsewhere. But what we can't say is, well, was somebody else there on his behalf, if you see what I'm getting at. But you know, that's not, I don't want that to be like, I'm not insinuating that. I'm just kind of like looking at every avenue, because it's kind of what I do. Because she hasn't just disappeared into thin air. And, you know, listening to that search and rescue guy today, you know, he seems pretty adamant, and he knows his stuff. And he does seem pretty adamant that if she was in that river, she would have been found by now. So Blackpool Road is on the side of the gate. So I think I'm being told that there's another gate. But I'm going to have to look at that. The point is the road will be monitored as well. It's a through road from the A6 to Bolton. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. Yeah, there will traffic. Yeah, there will be. You've got the traffic cameras. You've got, you know, the I'm pretty sure they can. I'm pretty sure they're probably looking through. I bet you there's like an incident room somewhere, and they're going through a lot of different footage. So what are you thinking, Diggler? Did you see the interview with the hubby? And what did you think? I've been dying. I'm like, I really hope my you know, my crime scene buddies are on here today, because I want to know what you think, because I know that you like look at the stuff that I look at. So the other side is gated off. Checked Google Maps. So when you say gated off, does that mean that there's no way that she could have got past that gate or been taken over the gate? Like, how high is that gate? There's no way to get a van through without opening it. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. Oh, hey, AA. It's nice to see you. I did not see you coming in. But welcome. So, what about the person who's seen a man in a van crying out for help and being assisted by a woman, supposedly, where the CCTV cameras weren't working? It's quite strange how that specific CCTV was shown. Right, okay. That's the first I've heard about any of that. When did that happen? Was that on that morning? Yeah. Let me know. So you haven't seen any videos today about the Nicola case, except a bit of the Peter Hyatt statement analysis. Yeah. I know. Very strange, wasn't it? You know, Chris Watts kind of did that, didn't they? You know, that interview on the porch when he didn't mention her by name, really, did he? You know, that same kind of distancing. You know, but there could be other reasons. You know, they're married, their partnership may not have been great. So maybe that's why he found it hard to talk about her in that way, because maybe, you know, we don't know what's been going on behind closed doors within her relationship, within her home. So it's really hard to call it, isn't it? But I found it really interesting as well that he didn't mention the dog. I don't know about you, but I just thought, you know, she went missing while she was walking Willow. Why didn't he mention anything to do with the dog? Like, he didn't come up with any, like, theory as to, well, yeah, you know, oh, she was always getting in the water, and we've had to get her out before. You know, he just didn't. He didn't talk about any of that. He did not talk about the dog at all. In fact, you would never have known she was really on a dog walk. So that I just found that odd. So yeah, not without being spotted. Well, thank you, critically acclaimed species. She fell in the river, you plongers. I wish it was that simple. It seems such a small window of opportunity for hubby to have done anything. Well, and this is it. You know, yeah, I don't think if hubby's seen on the CCTV and the ring stuff, and then we know that he wasn't part of what went on in the park. But it doesn't mean to say that someone else, that she, we can't rule out the abduction. And yeah. Yeah, hopefully they check the River Brock too. Again, I think someone else said that yesterday, about that. Yeah, absolutely. Why would he be thinking of anything? He's had no sleeping days. And yeah, you're right. You know what? He's going to be tired. He would be stressed. And, I've said all of that. We can't, it wasn't a great interview. But there could be many reasons why that wasn't a great interview. And that doesn't mean to say that he's guilty, because there could be so many reasons. But for me, there's just something a little bit off. And I'm not saying it's because, well, he's guilty and he must have done it. But there's something a little bit off. And I don't know, does that point to the fact them not being as close as perhaps as perhaps people may have thought? Although having said that, so far I've not heard too many people mention much about him or their relationship. So, I don't know. When I had a look on the Facebook posts, there were pictures of them from Centre Parks in December, and they looked, in those photos, they look like they're happy and together. They don't look like it doesn't seem to me that they look like a couple who are in trouble, but, again, you just don't know. So what's off is that his wife he loves has vanished and people are accusing him of things. And again, I am not accusing him. And I've not heard anyone accuse him. But part of what I do is I have adult discussions and I try and cover all bases. And I've just said, and you've just heard me say, I think there's many reasons why he didn't give a very good interview. And it's not, it's not because he has something to hide. It's just that he was nervous, he's tired, he's stressed, whatever, but that's what we do in with true crime. We do, we discuss it, we look at the videos, we look at the evidence that we have. Yeah, absolutely, FMG. You've not accused him in any way, and in fact, if anything, you straight away said when we played that video, that you found him to be quite plausible. So yeah, so I don't think that everyone is necessarily blaming this guy. Not at all. Not for one little bit. So I just want to go back and just look at some of these pictures again. So Chrome tabs. Where are we? Okay, so let's just right. So I'm not going to be able to see comments at the moment, but I will come back to them. Okay, share. All right, so this is where we was before, wasn't we? So this is the bench. I mean, and see, I mean, look how many people though are, you know, kind of traipsing all over that. You know, that was, to me, I mean, personally, I think that should have been immediately sealed off, that area, just as I do for any area where there's a possible crime that may have been committed. And they did seal it off a bit later on in the week, but I think that should have been done straight away. Right, so this gives you some idea of the area, like of the land itself. You know, it's pretty vast, and there's, you know, and like you said, FMG, you know what? It is pretty it's pretty flat, isn't it? Like there's, like you said, you know, there's not a lot of places where perhaps you could get away with doing stuff. It's quite like there's a lot of open spaces. I'm not sure where she was, but yeah, that ground, you know, there's a lot of open spaces there. So I think initially this woman here in the red, I think they said that she may have been one of the witnesses to start with. I think she might have been, I think they were saying that she may have been one of the people that saw her. But then that kind of changed. So I'm kind of not certain about that woman. Right, now this I found, I just kind of saw this and I thought, oh my God. This was a post. This was on her Facebook, and this was in, I think it was January. And she's put, a very foggy, cold walk this morning. Not a day to forget your gloves. Bit spooky too. Set me up for the day though, and Willow had the best time. And like, doesn't it look? It does look creepy. Doesn't it look spooky? I was like, oh, do you know? And imagine her saying that, and that this is on her, you know, this is on her posts. And this is another thing, you know, that I always think about. Like, I wish people wouldn't do this, because here she is on her Facebook telling people this is where she walks quite regularly. And it's almost like you're letting people know where you're going to be. You know, I really don't like it when people give out too much info, you know, about their habits or where they walk their dogs. And yeah, I just wish they wouldn't. But that just really, you know, I just thought, oh, it gave me goosebumps, because I thought, oh my God, you know, for her to say that, and then this ends up being the place where she goes missing. Okay, so this was interesting to me. So this is where I was just looking about, you know, her info. And like I said, when I went onto his Facebook, he's taken everything. Well, he's either taken everything off, or he never had a lot on there in the first place. Could be one or the other, I don't know. But she pretty much had, I think some things may have been taken off of her Facebook, but pretty much it's quite intact. This is her with one of her daughters, and I said I won't show the children's faces on here, because it wouldn't be right. But the reason that I did, I wanted to show this photo was that this is the Gillette, is it? I never know how you pronounce that. So this is what she was wearing on the day, and like this is an ankle length Gillette quilted, and I thought, Christ, do you know what? If she did fall in the river, that would weigh her down. She's got boots. She would have boots on. So we're told this is what she was wearing. She had like a long kind of cardigan underneath that. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it's waterproof, but it would have been heavy, wouldn't it? And probably not the best thing to be wearing if you was to fall in the river, because it's quite chunky, and that may I mean, did that make it difficult for her to get out? You know? So yeah, I thought that was interesting, that photo, because I hadn't seen any photos. They were describing this ankle length Gillette, but they didn't. They weren't. They didn't. There was no photos, so I actually had to find that. Let me just come back to the chat. So I just want to let me catch up. Yeah, so yeah, FMG. I mean, absolutely. You no one on here has accused him not of anything. I'm just saying I found his interview a bit off, but there could have been lots of reasons for that. So critically endangered species. She will turn up after the next torrential downpour. Yeah, I mean, it's possible, isn't it? Because the river's not in flood. And so just a bit of a trigger alert, but we do know that, you know, when people drown, they don't automatically, you know, they'll kind of sink. And then as the body decomposes, a trigger warning here, as the body decomposes, slowly it will kind of rise to the surface. We know that the river's pretty cold, so that will slow down decomposition. And I think day 10 we're still in that kind of time. We're still in that kind of time range where she could still surface. Yeah. Apparently, FMG has said that the search and rescue guy who did an interview this morning, who is renowned for finding people, especially in rivers, in water, apparently he's going to be, because he said he could clear that river in a day, and he would be able to, say, he was pretty confident that he would be able to go into that river. It will take him one day, and he will be able to clarify whether she was in there or not. So if he does go in, if he does do that search, that will be interesting. She'll be found tomorrow if she's found. I'm still going by the jump into the river theory. Even if she is found in the river, they would still need to work out what actually happened and if anything nefarious occurred. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the family are going to want answers, you know, to what led her into the river. I think her dog knocked her in the river. Yeah, could well be, very possible. How do you feel though about the fact that if the fact that when she went into the river, how do you feel about the fact that her dog was apparently not wet? because I kind of straight away thought it was strange that the dog wouldn't have jumped in after her. And so I thought the dog should have been wet. I know some dogs have a fear of water, like humans, but I think it's unusual. And being a spaniel, you know, they're pretty clever dogs. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely possible. So AA, maybe they have information they don't want to reveal. Like if they knew there was third-party involvement, right, disclosing that could threaten her life if she's still alive. So exactly. So then that's what I kind of wondered. I was thinking, well, maybe, you know, the police, let's face it, they don't always tell us everything that they know. And sometimes they can be misleading because for a reason. Because they do know something, but they don't want to let on that they know. So they could be pushing this hypothesis because that's what they want. If there is, you know, a perpetrator or a third person, because they don't want them to think they're on their trail. So we do know the police do that, and it's possible. So I'm glad you brought that point up, because that is very relevant. Definitely. Critically, I thought that when I was on board with the river assumption. Somebody in Grizzlies. Who's Grizzly? I do not know who this Grizzly is. I don't think I do. Somebody in Grizzlies chat earlier says she might have gone into a portal and teleported to another dimension. Oh my goodness. Actually, do you know what? I guess we have to keep all options open. I mean, I'm one for covering all bases, but probably not that one. But someone did say yesterday on my TikTok that she may have fallen into a hole. So I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know about that. Yeah, so Facebook is stalker's dream come true. Definitely. Like, people, do not put where you walk your dogs. Just don't. You don't need to be sharing that stuff. You know, it's dangerous out there. There's people, there's lunatics out there. You know, whether this was an accident or what, you know, whatever happened here, still just do not ever share where you are going to be walking or where you go quite a bit. I mean, just don't. Absolutely not bad. People should be more careful about what they post online and where they're going to be. There are a lot of creeps out there today, unfortunately. And that's exactly why, you know, you should never, ever be divulging that kind of stuff. So, critically endangered species. That coat will weigh about £80 plus. I think so too. Do you know what? When I saw that coat, so I you know, I'm thinking she's in the river. Then I'm thinking, no, she's not in the river. And then I saw, because she would have been able to have got out. I didn't think it was fast moving enough. I didn't think that she would have struggled to get out because she looked quite healthy. I was hearing about this coat, and then when I saw it, my heart sunk a bit because I thought, oh shit, like that looks heavy. That coat looks heavy. So she had fallen in that river, jumped in. I mean, that would have weighed her down. That would have made it difficult for her to get out, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And it's really strange, isn't it, that being that the police were on board with the the river hypothesis, that they didn't show the picture of her in this coat. I know they mentioned it, but they didn't actually show the picture. because I think that would have made a lot more sense to people who are questioning why she wouldn't have been able to have got out the river quite, easily. Because I think that coat says a lot. So if someone abducted her, the world's... Yeah, that effed up. Some psychopaths strive off the buzz of viral stuff like this, and who knows? The possible abductor could be in this chat for all we know. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's hope not. But you know what? You never know. Fleetwood FC told people to be on the lookout for her. Oh, at half time, did they? I'm glad. That's good. So FMG, it depends if she's lodged under a branch. Could be. I mean, the river looks pretty clear, but there are points where, yeah, I mean, it's possible. That sonar can't go under waterfalls because it scans under the boat. Are there waterfalls? Yeah. Yeah, not on the flatland. I didn't think so. Dogs run through legs and jump up onto people. Time travel. Yeah. That's another theory. Dog jumped up at her by accident near the bank and she fell. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, did she... she could have been knocked unconscious. You know, it's possible, isn't it? Yeah, it doesn't mean she touched the side. She might have gone unconscious, definitely. Oh, you imagine the riverbed's quite hard at the moment. The river would have turned still, no screams. She would be laying under the river. Murky river, which you can see through. The search and rescue guide seemed to be saying he thought it was quite clear, didn't he? But it looked a bit murky to me in places. River would have turned still within 10 minutes. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you everyone who's joined me here today. And if you like, you know, what we've kind of been discussing and it's for you, then consider subscribing and liking, because that's always good for my channel. So I'm going to leave it there today because I've got some things that I really need to do. I'm going to have a look at that video and see what that's about, see what I can tell. And if I think it's relevant, we'll definitely have a look at that tomorrow. I'm hoping to get on tomorrow about the same time, about this kind of time, maybe about 4-ish. Yeah, maybe about 4 o'clock. I mean, you don't know. Hopefully we may have some news by then. I hope so. I hope so for her family. You know, I really do. I hope we get some good news. But I just don't think it's looking very good, is it? Oh, no, you're so welcome. And thank you for being here and giving me and coming back on after my disaster this morning. And yeah, Diggler, it's always really good to see you. So you have a good night too. And like I said, I'm going to try and get on tomorrow about the same time, so maybe about 4-ish. Hopefully we'll have some good news. If not, you know, maybe we need to start looking at other down other avenues. If this search and rescue guy does look tomorrow, well, that's going to be interesting to see what he may turn up. So yeah, thank you. Like I said, thank you for being here. And I will see you all very shortly. I will see you all soon. So yeah, take care. Have a good evening, and look after yourself. And yeah, do not be putting on Facebook where you're going to be walking. Never. All right. Thank you, everyone. So good to see you all. Take care.